What is slut shaming? Is it a patriarchal institution, primarily enforced by men? Well, I think there's some merit to that idea. I mean, certainly, on a personal level, if I hear a girl giving details on her sexual history, and you know, she has a high body count or something like that, right? There will be this little sinking feeling in the pit of my chest. I think a lot of men have this sinking feeling. And on a basic level, it's insecurity, right? It's fear, jealousy. It's, what if he's better than me? Right? What if he's hotter or bigger or, you know, better in bed? Whatever it is, some deep sexual jealousy there, right? And I think this is why the virgin fantasy is so popular amongst a lot of men. Because at that point, right, you have to be the best sex they've ever had. They have literally no one to compare you to. I think that's the idea. I think it's a way of trying to avoid insecurity. So yeah, that's a reasonable theory. But let me propose a different idea. In the book Datanomics, John Berger analyzes gaps in college education between men and women and argues that we have a kind of a bifurcated system in our society where college-educated men and women live in one dating market and uncollege-educated men and women tend to live in a different dating market. The reason for this is because at least women, but most people in general, tend not to date people who don't have college degrees if they themselves have one. As a result of this, there are two dating markets. One for college-educated people, in which women who graduate college at higher rates are the majority and men are the minority, and another one in which women are the minority and men are the majority in non-college educated circles. He argues that who has the majority group and who has the minority group changes how people's preferences behave in these dating markets. So for example, where women are the majority and men are the minority, there's not enough men to go around, making it very hard for some women who are college educated to find good men. There just aren't enough men that they would be interested in. And of that small category of men that they're disinterested in, that category of men has no incentive to commit to them because there is an abundance of women from those men's perspective. So they're less likely to commit, less likely to get married, so there's a higher rate of hookup culture, higher rate of divorce, etc. Now, within the lower class category, the women are the minority and the men are the majority. What tends to happen here is still an increased likelihood to cheat, at this time among women, but slightly less so. And it tends to be the case that when women are in the minority group, they become choosier. They tend to have more options, and so they sort of rest and sit back and await one of those options being far superior to the others, because they know they have lots of interested parties and they want to hold on until they find somebody who's really a good pick for them. This dynamic is basically the same dynamic described by incels, but with an additional class character to it. Theoretically, if we solved the class disparity, we could solve both forms of sexual inequality, at least according to John Berger's analysis. Now, the economic comparison here is difficult for some to stomach. People generally do not like looking at human relationships in rigid economic terms, but I'm going to use an economic metaphor anyways. If you look at the labor market, when there is high levels of unemployment, that's generally a bad thing for workers. The reason being that those unemployed people are technically now in competition for the small number of jobs that exist in the economy. which puts downward pressure on workers' wages, because the workers who are employed are now competing with unemployed people who are desperate to take any wage they can. Similarly, if there's too many employed people in the economy, well, I don't know about too many employed people, but if there's too many jobs and not enough workers to fill them, also known as a labor shortage, this creates a lot of power in labor's favor. This was why during the pandemic, when we had that labor shortage, we also saw an all-time high in labor organizing and union organizing, and a lot of people were able to bargain for higher wages from their employers. There's a similar sort of a dynamic that goes on in sex and dating, where when a person is a part of a scarce resource, they become more valuable. And when a person is abundant, they become more disposable. So, I've already given a plausible reason why men might engage in slut shaming, but we still don't know why women engage in slut shaming. I think John Berger's analysis might give us an answer, because the women are attempting to hoard their own sexual scarcity. They're trying to maintain their position as a scarce resource in order to increase their value. They know that if they're dating a guy, they have a boyfriend, right? And they see this other girl going around and she's just, she's having a good time. She's sleeping with people left and right, which for the record, I think is awesome, right? She's having a good time sleeping with people left and right. She might say, oh no, why would my boyfriend bother to be emotionally available to me, committed to me? Why would he bother to be all of these things that I need him to be for me if he could just have sex with her? So they start policing other women's sexual behavior in an effort to maintain this scarcity. Because they know that if sex is generally a scarce thing for the men around them in their lives, that gives them a power. That gives them leg up in this sexual marketplace. In a previous video, I talked about why it's so difficult to apply for jobs now. You can send out hundreds of applications very quickly and very easily, very conveniently online, thanks to sites like Indeed, and it's easier than ever to post a job availability. So why would it be harder to apply for jobs than it used to be? By all logic, we should be progressing towards making things easier, not more difficult. But the ease actually creates the challenge. It is because there are so many applications being sent out that the employers have difficulty processing them all. They no longer feel the need to respond to everything they receive, which makes them appear unprofessional and rude. Additionally, they have no reason to commit to you because they know you have no reason to commit to them. Like I said, it's easier than ever before to apply for jobs, which means it's easier than ever before to change jobs, which means employers have less incentive than ever before to care about retaining good work, because the good workers that they have can just quit and take their skills elsewhere at any time. This is why it's important that we invest in job training programs that hopefully rebuild these institutional commitments between employers and employees that have been lost due to the gigification of the economy. Well, there are other digital platforms that have made other things easier in the same way today. Dating applications. The same thing. More people are able to apply for the possibility of being someone's girlfriend or boyfriend than ever before, and with more ease. As a result, people who might have a lot of prospective people interested in them for one reason or another now have more people than ever before, and their desire to commit to any of those people, or to even give the professional courtesy of responding to a message, has been lowered more than ever before. There is no incentive now for mutual commitment in relationships for the same reason that there is no incentive for mutual commitment in an employer-employee relationship. The social contract has been broken in every way possible. And it's been broken by technology. It is a technological problem that is at the root of this. It is progress and making things easier and better that is making things worse and harder. At least progress without attempts to address some of the downsides of those new technologies. The far right has been growing in recent years, with figures like Nick Fuentes recently bursting into public popularity in a way like never before. As a result of that, I think it would be wise to lay some lines in the sand. Okay? Let's draw some thick black lines as to my criticisms and disagreements with this new and emerging radical faction here. For one thing, it's not the Jews. You gotta stop blaming the Jews, guys. It's just not the Jews. It's just not their fault. I'm sorry. You know, you look at the technological change that has happened in the last few hundred years, right? When colonizers came over to America, they had to sail on ships over the sea, right? They had to sail this great vast distance, and it was a months-long voyage, and many people died, right? And now we ship cargo routes back and forth over that same ocean like it's nothing. That is a technological change. That is technological progress that has allowed economic globalization and international migration to take place on a scale like never before. If your concern is excessive levels of immigration or that free trade needs to be criticized because the increased economic globalization has significant downsides for workers or the environment or Chinese, Uyghur, Muslim slaves, or, you know, any number of those different groups that are currently of interest to the nationalist crowd, you have a pretty prime suspect for what is causing this problem that you are now reacting against and trying to fix. And it's not the Jews. It's technology. It's technology itself that is the root of everything that you are criticizing. It is technology that has made us flexible. It is technology and capitalism as a symptom of technology that has given multinational corporations so much power. They can move from one country to another and pick and choose what sorts of regulatory apparatuses and laws they prefer. And wouldn't you know, the companies whose only sole motivation, because they're not human, they're legal assets, they are legal contracts, they're not human, they are corporations, the only thing they care about is making as much money possible. They will sell heroin to your children. They do not care. They will destroy your nature, destroy your land, destroy everything you hold dear, because they do not care. They cannot care. They are not a person. They are the free flow of capital across borders done faster and easier than ever before, as a result of the internet and modern technologies that make it quicker than ever before for financial capital to flow across borders freely.